Let's turn our attention to boxing, because as far as we gather, Conor Benn is now set to fight Chris Eubank Jr. It's more or less finalised and will go ahead on February the 3rd. But the question remains this morning, how can it still happen here in the UK? Because remember, it was Benn who failed not one but two tests before the last time the two were due to fight. And the fight was off amid a whole bunch of controversy. The headlines went on and on and on and still go on around that cancelled fight. Benn thinks it's on. Conor Benn on Twitter. "I cannot wait to punch you in the head," he says. In response to that, Eubank Jr. tells Benn, "You're a dead man walking." In response to that, Benn fires back, "I'll remind you of this when you're being scraped up off the canvas. February the 3rd, I am ending your career." So the fighters think it's going on, but how can it go on? Because has Conor Benn really cleared his name? Robert Smith is the General Secretary of the British Boxing Board of Control and joins us live. Robert, good morning to you. One question. Have you licensed this fight to go ahead in this country on February the 3rd?
Well, first of all, thanks for asking me to come on. As you're aware, I was unable to come on yesterday, as I would have done. We had other matters other than Conor Benn. Obviously, Conor Benn's a very important matter to deal with, but we also deal with other boxing matters, and I couldn't get away from those. So I'm on as soon as I possibly can.
Thanks, Robert.
I can say to begin with that the board feel any athlete, not just a boxer, but any athlete who has failed the drug test needs to go through an investigation, and that with the proper authorities, and that hasn't happened. And we're waiting for that to happen. And the Boxing Board and UKAD have been pushing for that to happen right from the beginning of this. And unfortunately, it's been delayed, not through the Boxing Board of Control or UKAD, but through other parties. With regard to Mr. Benn boxing this country, we have had an application for him to box in this country that has been refused.
Right. So what's all this noise about then, Robert? I mean, are you like us standing back somewhat baffled this morning that they think all roads lead to the ring on February the 3rd? Well,
obviously, you know, they can put out what they want ultimately, but they've got to go through the proper authorities, and we haven't been through the proper authorities. And we're, as I said before, we're really, really keen to get this done right from the beginning, through procedures that we can't, which I can't really discuss. However, as I say, we want it done, want it done to get it cleared up. This is not a good look for boxing, as you can imagine. And as working for the Boxing Board of Control, it's my job to try to get it dealt with as soon as possible. And that's what we're waiting to do. And there is an appeal in process. You know, once that appeal's done, we'll be in a better position then.
Are you in a position, Robert? I mean, we spoke about this previously, and obviously the nature of the situation has been that the suspension was lifted on Conor on the basis of jurisdiction. You, the British Boxing Board of Control, in association with the UKAD, have launched an appeal against this, which you're now saying is being held up not by your end, but by other people's end of the equation, which I'm assuming is Conor and whoever else is around him. Are you in a position, as the British Boxing Board of Control and UKAD, to be in a hearing? If there was an appeal to be heard in the next 2 or 3 weeks, would you be in a position to be able to advance your appeal and put forward your case, or would you need further time to be able to deal with the matters that you need to advance?
An appeal is taking place in the new year, Simon, and we'll be at that position at that time. We'll be able to put forward our case. Yes.
Right. So again, I'll ask you, and you may obfuscate, but why is it taking so long to get an appeal? Is that simply because of the other side of the argument have not been as cooperative as you'd like them to be in getting an appeal date and being to determine the outcome of a process that you're uncomfortable with?
Yeah, as I said, we've been pushing very hard for the appeal, well, from the beginning, for the whole process to be dealt with properly, as is normally in the normal process. If we'd gone through the normal process, Simon, I'm fairly sure we've been in a position now where you possibly would be able to box. But we're not in that process because it's been circumvented to a certain extent, which is very disappointing. We've been pushing very, very hard. We're in a position we could do it today.
Hang on. That's good to hear, Robert. But let me just go back on what you just said. If he had have gone through the process that didn't involve jurisdiction, he would now be going through a process with yourselves and UKAD to determine an outcome that was based upon 2 failed drugs tests, two tests that have been passed through UKAD and 2 that have been failed through VADA. He wouldn't be able to be boxing anytime soon, because unless he'd provided you with a satisfactory outcome as to the reason why those substances are in his system, you'd be putting a ban on him, wouldn't you?
You're absolutely right, Simon. But we don't know. The situation is, and as we've discussed before, Conor could be innocent. There could be a reason why, but we don't know. Or he could be guilty. We don't know. We haven't got those facts, and we want to get the facts to deal with it. If he'd gone through the process in the first place and had to serve a suspension, depending what that suspension would have to be and how long it would be, but we're not in that position.
What baffles me, Robert, is the cart is very much before the horse here. Conor Benn is having an exchange now with Chris Eubank Jr. about what the two will do to each other once they get in the ring. But Benn himself is precisely naming the date, February the 3rd, as the time when he will, quote, end Eubank Jr.'s career. They've already decided the damn thing is on. But here's the thing. They haven't got that permission from you.
No, they haven't got that. The promoter hasn't got that permission from us. We can't control social media, Jim. You know as well. You can't control social media. We have a talkSPORT show that deals with sport all the time. Obviously, the things need to be discussed, etc. And it's regurgitated all the time. We're not in control of that, and nor do I want to be in control of that. To be fair, because it's a minefield, as you're obviously aware. But the situation is, we've refused permission for him to box for that date.
But Robert, they're forecasting an outcome of an appeal, because if you are having appeal in January, they are erring on the side that there's an expected outcome, and on that basis that there's an expected outcome, you will then, if the outcome remains the same, if your appeal is unsuccessful, and you aren't able to overturn the lifting of a suspension, are you going to be in a position after that to stop Conor Benn from fighting on February the 3rd?
I'm not going to deal with speculation, Simon.
That's not speculation. That's a straight line conversation, Robert. That's not speculation. If you lose your appeal, you are not going to be in a position to stop them from boxing, are you?
We won't know what the circumstances and the outcome of that appeal is. There could be conditions, there may not be conditions. It may be a situation where we can do no more. We've done everything we possibly can, and he's entitled to box. Then we'll have to deal with it that way. At the present time, we're not in that position to give you an answer, I'm afraid.
If they uphold the same situation, you're appealing against the judgment. I've been through many appeals in my life.
Who made the judgment, Simon?
The Independent Anti-Doping Commission, which is appointed on the basis of representing an outcome that's independent from the British Boxing Board of Control and independent from UKAD. Is it you guys that appoint the Independent Commission, Robert?
No, everything's dealt with by UKAD.
UKAD deal with it, right? So if the appeal is not successful, then you are in a difficult position, aren't you?
Yes, we'll be in a difficult position, but we'll deal with it as we have to.
I think I heard you say earlier on, Robert, that you could make a decision on this today. If all the ducks were in a row,
he could be. They'd be ready to go to an appeal today.
You'd be ready to go to an appeal today. So presumably, I mean, as soon as you finish this live interview, which you've kindly done for us this morning on talkSPORT, your phone's going to ring, isn't it? Because Ben's promoter's going to be on, and so too is Eubank Jr.'s. One would have logically thought.
That works.
Jim, I expect a lot of phone calls in the next couple of days. Don't worry about it.
But you've got a date. You've got a date scheduled in January for an appeal, and there's no reason that's coming forward. Yes.
No reason that's coming forward. There's no reason it's going back either.
Okay.
Yeah. So at the moment, the fight's not on February the 3rd, Robert. Just to confirm that.
We've not given permission for that fight to take place. No.
Understood. Robert Smith, I know you're a busy man. Thanks for giving us that time this morning.
I thought you were going to ask me about VAR, actually, but they are leaving.
You've got enough on your plate.
That one really has floored us, Robert. Thank you very much indeed. Robert Smith of the British Boxing Board of Control. Simon, I mean, we'll pick over the bones of that, the other side of the bulletin. But at the moment, forget February the 3rd. It's not happening for the moment.